Welcome back to our channel, Kingstonmouth. In today's video, we will be looking at the biography of Donovan Reynolds. Donovan Reynolds is the founder and CEO of Kingstonmouth.com. He is a trained diplomat, social worker, and social activist based in London, United Kingdom, social entrepreneur. He is a social entrepreneur and independent writer who manages and founded Kingstonmouth.com, an international online magazine whose core business is to create content on social media platforms to promote human rights, campaign to improve global governance and the protection of the global environment. The company also makes documentaries and provides public relations and communication consultancy services. Kingstonmouth.com is a charity-registered limited liability company in the United Kingdom. Academic involvement. Donovan Reynolds attended Calabar High School in Jamaica and graduated in 1980. He studied social work at the University of the West Indies in 1992. In 1999, he attended Kingston University in the UK, where he pursued undergraduate studies in criminal justice and a diploma in social work in 2003. He has a certificate in management studies from South Bank University. He completed postgraduate studies in human rights law at Birkbeck University and holds an MSc in Diplomacy, Statecraft and Global Governance from Loughborough University, UK. Politics. Politically, he describes himself as a progressive, left-leaning, eco-socialist adherent to green politics with clear and outspoken anti-capitalist views. He was an avid supporter of the British Labour Party for 10 years and Momentum, the group that supported Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. After Jeremy Corbyn was suspended from the British Labour Party, he discontinued his support. He is now a supporter and member of the British Green Party. He was previously also an active member of the Jamaica Labour Party (JLP) in his native country Jamaica for almost 30 years, but left to support the People's National Party (PNP), citing ideological and doctrinal differences. Social influence. Donovan Reynolds describes a number of people that have inspired his political leanings. They are first and foremost his adopted mother, Rose E. Reynolds, a Jamaican schoolteacher and a delegate of the People's National Party (PNP). His adopted mother met Amy Jakes Garvey, the Jamaican-born journalist and activist wife of Marcus Messiah Garvey, and Edith Dalton James MBE-CD, February 1, 1896, November 5, 1976. Edith Dalton James was a Jamaican educator and politician. She was also a founding member of the People's National Party, 1938. His mother was a member of the UNIA, a Marxist, and a delegate of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, social activism. Other persons who contributed directly or indirectly to his life and political outlook are Dr. Anthony Mackenzie, childhood friend Adrian Frater, Jamaican journalist, Walter Rodney, Guyanese historian, political activist and academic, Muta Baruka, Rastafarian dub poet, Professor Stuart Hall, British cultural theorist, Bruce Golding, politician and former Jamaican Prime Minister, Yanis Varoufakis, Greek economist and politician, Johan Hari, British-Swiss writer and journalist, John Maxwell, Jamaican journalist, Anne Smith, British educator, feminist and social activist, Simone de Beauvoir, French existentialist philosopher and feminist. Early life. Donovan describes his early life as perplexing. He describes his mother as the hands that guided his birth. Rose E. Reynolds was an educator who married his father, Samuel Reynolds, a working-class farmer in West Rural St Andrew in Jamaica. This, he described jokingly, must have been drunken choice made during good sex that led to a mistaken wedding ceremony between them. All they had in common was my sister and I. The hatred between them was palpable and it led to a violent and unhappy upbringing. His adopted mother left childbearing until late and found out that she was infertile, so arranged with his biological mother to have 2 children with his father, a very brave thing to do in a time when there was no fertility clinic. He owes his birth to this bold yet painful decision, although by default it worked out as he considered himself as just lucky to be a part of a powerful existence that come out of pain. This struggle has informed his quest for human rights, political action. He describes his father as a hard-working class man who was physically abusive, yet his adopted mother was a loving woman who was intelligent. Because the communication had broken down between them, he became the person whom she tested her education on. By the age of 12 years, he had already been a Marxist and Pan-Africanist as a result of his mother's tutelage. His early years of school was boring, as he was already reading Times Magazine and Newsweek, and the only interest in school was history. He topped his class in history at high school, but otherwise he was an average, if not below par student. By the time he left Calabar High School, it was self-evident that he had sabotaged his education out of boredom and a selfish desire to rebel against his physically abusive dad. He said the tears in his mother's eyes, the shout and squealing sound that she made when she saw his school report, turned his life around. From there on, this early academic failure made him a hard-nosed, successful academic. Pacifisms and social action. Donovan recognized the political activism from his mother and Alice Walker, author of The Color Purple, who famously opined, "Activism is our rent for living on planet Earth." He was brainwashed by his mother into believing that no one has ever become poor from giving. Through activism and charity, this has brought richness and satisfaction to his inner core. His social activism began at the age of 15 years when he became vice president of a youth club in Zadie Gardens, St Andrew, Jamaica, where his friend Michael Myrie lived. At the age of 24, he was working as a government public servant in Negril, Jamaica, where he formed a police youth club. He worked with children from an urban blight community to form a football club, a netball team, a drama club, and was able to get youths from the community to go on a youth exchange to London. The community sports complex behind the Negril police station bear testament to his community involvements. It was his project proposal when he completed social work at the University of the West Indies in 1992. During the period of his social involvement, he pioneered youth leadership and improved community relations in this area. After leaving the JCF, he was involved with the Jamaica Labour Party, where he was at one point caretaker for the Sheffield Division and later for a short period as constituency caretaker for Western Westmoreland. This was cut short by a period of illness. Whilst a member of the JLP, he struggled with the conservative ideological doctrine of the JLP but admired Bruce Golding. Golding was the chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, before he and others felt the need to split and form a new party, the National Democratic Movement, NDM, in 1995. In 2002, he rejoined the JLP and in November 2003 was again elected chairman of the party. Golding served as 8th Prime Minister of Jamaica from 11 September 2007 to 23 October 2011. Reynolds credited Bruce Golding for the reintroduction of free education and free healthcare for Jamaican, and despite his misgiving, he pursued a progressive agenda. Donovan's left-leaning tendencies collided with the JLP lurch to the right. His doctrinal criticism of the JLP under the current leadership is well documented in an article entitled "The JLP, Staying the Course of a Difficult but Achievable Reform Agenda." This can be viewed at Kingstonmouth.com, so when he announced on his Facebook in February 2023 that he no longer supported the PNP, it was not surprising, as this is more in line with the values of his mentors and Kingstonmouth.com social and political activism in the UK. In 1997, he migrated to United Kingdom with his family to pursue studies in line with his political and charitable aspirations. Unable to curb his activist appetite, Donovan Reynolds was the leader and student representative of his student year group at Kingston University between 1999 and 2003. NUS is the national union representing university and college students across the UK. As a student, he was drawn to the NUS aspirational fight to make education free and lifelong. It was also the student activities that brought him in contact with the British Labour Party and Jamaican-born British Marxist sociologist, cultural theorist and political activist Stuart Henry MacPhail Hall. Left-leaning social activist groups in the UK and Stuart Hall helped to refashion his political views. Hall regards language use as operating within a framework of power, institutions and politics economics. This view resonated with Donovan Reynolds. In 1999, while in the UK, he met Professor Hall at a function at the Open University. At that institution, Hall encouraged jokingly him to become the mouth of Kingston. That was where the first idea of Kingstonmouth.com came from. Donovan Reynolds is a pacifist influenced by Henry David Thoreau. also referred to as anarchist pacifism, and is an anarchist school of thought that advocates forms of resistance in the struggle for social change. To this end, he has been involved with the Stop the War Coalition, STWC, informally Stop the War, a British group created on 21st of September 2001, shortly after the September 11th attacks. STWC, it was created to campaign against what it believes are unjust wars. Kingstonmouth.com is part of the anti-nuclear movement in the United Kingdom that consists of groups who oppose nuclear technologies such as nuclear power and nuclear weapons. He has led Kingstonmouth delegation on a number of public demonstrations in London. Kingstonmouth.com supports the Anti-Poverty Alliance and supports the anti-austerity movement in the United Kingdom on and offline. A reoccurring theme of his writings is that the last 2 decades have seen an increased collusion between establishment politics and media about the necessity for austerity, a set of political economic policies that aim to reduce government budget deficits through spending cuts, tax increases, or a combination of both. Kingstonmouth.com hold the view that reduced government spending has resulted in higher unemployment and a widening gap between the rich and the poor. He is best known for first coining the idea of the techno-billionaire slavery, which he describes as a modern-day form of techno-billionaire slavery being perpetuated by the techno-billionaire class and supported by a global education system that seeks to funnel especially the millennial generation into an ICT AI-based education system that produces mostly low-paying a global virtual gulag controlled by techno-billionaires. Throughout the 2010s, in response to conservative Liberal Democrat coalition government's austerity measures, which saw significant reductions in local council budgets, increasing of university tuition fees, and reduction of public spending on welfare, education, health and policing, Kingstonmouth.com was involved in an anti-austerity demonstration on the 25th of June 2015. Between 70,000 and 150,000 estimated persons marched in central London in protest of the anti-poverty legislation. At the protest organised by the People's Assembly Against Austerity and a number supported of Activist Coalition, groups including CND, Unite, Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion. On reaching Downing Street, Donovan Reynolds laid down before number 10 with other protesters who called for the end of austerity and increased funding for the NHS, the end of a Tory government, and to tax the rich, not the poor. The police intervened to arrest him, but after an intervention by his partner Anne Smith, and evidence from his online writings, blogs and YouTube documentaries to advocate for a global tax on the billionaire class to alleviate poverty funds, he was moved on by the police. These days he is more reserved with his activism, preferring to use peaceful methods to achieve change, secularism. Donovan Reynolds is an agnostic and secular humanist who is respectful of other faith beliefs. He believes in a plural, open society where people follow many different religious and non-religious ways of life. His personal beliefs in a secular state guaranteeing human rights with no privilege or discrimination on grounds of religion or belief. He is extremely proud of the fact that the volunteers and leadership of Kingstonmouth are from various faith organizations. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from us in the future.